back to the program. The Central Bank of Nigeria has issued a 5-paragraph statement earlier today from the Director of the Corporate Communications, Isaac Okorafor, denying allegations by Business Day newspaper, saying that there's a sleazy face of 306 naira to $1 inside Nigeria's racket, where faceless agents pocket over 32 billion naira annually. The Central Bank says it wishes to state unequivocally that this report is unfounded and untrue and challenges Business Day to provide the names and also verifiable evidence of collusion between these faceless agents and officials of the Central Bank who are working to perpetuate these so-called FX racket schemes. The financial regulator says the financial observers can see that the FX rates across the various markets in Nigeria are governed and regulated by the CBN and have been converging, thus leaving no room for arbitrage opportunities in the Nigeria's FX market. This came in about an hour and a half ago. A presser from the Central Bank says, for the avoidance of doubt, the CBN will continue to act in the best interest of Nigeria and shall ensure it remains focused on its core mandate of sustaining the stability in the FX market. The Central Bank there denying this newspaper report that there's a racket between some agents in the market and some Central Bank officials sabotaging the FX market. Well, let's go through the market, just give you a sense of where we finished off last week. The stock market finished January on a negative note. We're down 2.51%. On the composite index, we lost the 31,000 index reading during the month. And of course, that's last week and numbers for you. The equity cap finished off 11.424 trillion naira. So that 2.51% gives you our year-to-date and our month-to-date. Today, we'll see the second trading day of the month of February. In terms of volume, roll that over and you can see those primary indicators coming through. We did nearly 20,000 or north of 19,000 in terms of total transactions. But where did the market bled most? The 5 main sectors were largely in red, with the exception of the oil and gas, giving us a very less than 0.1% green shoot. Banking came in at about 2.5% in the water. Consumer goods was worse by 3.35%, and industrial goods also worse by 3.26%, and insurance followed their cousins, the banks, in the same negative region, 2.22%. Of course, this week will be some of the earnings will be in sharp focus as we see the first set of numbers coming through for the new year. Look at the oil and gas space very quickly, and it was all tepid on Friday, with the exception of Seplat, down about almost 1% on the back of less than 260,000 transactions. But Owando kept his head up as the most active traded stock on Friday, and of course with Japan, but the market was largely unchanged. Most of it were just grey there, and you can see, read the numbers. If you look at the NESE over the counter, let's just move that to the NESE. The unlisted securities market managed 0.62%. That's keeping the USI, that's the unlisted securities index, in the green territory, 748.96. Where you see the treasury bills, let's throw that in from the FMDQ market. We'll get to Tony Sonny in a bit, but let's look at the FMDQ. This is giving you a story, but this is a Naira bond. I flip it to the treasuries. That's where you saw a massive 241.9 billion from this FMDQ OTC market. And again, because we saw for the first time this year a single digit yield on treasuries. Those treasuries, 28th February 2019 and 7th of March 2019, those coming in at 9.97 and 9.95. The Central Bank of Nigeria showing no pity for liquidity suffering on the market. That's squeezing yields now to about single digit on those tenured treasuries, short-dated treasuries, as it were. Okay, take that away. Let's talk to Tony Sonny, who is the CEO of Emerging Africa Capital. She's live to us from our studios at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. It's good to see you, madam, and thanks for coming to talk to us a bit about economic and investment outlook. What does it take to invest in the Nigerian market? Is there any roadmap? Can I just Google it up and just get Nigeria? What guide do I need to invest in this market? I guess we lost Tony there. Tony Sonny is the CEO at Emerging Africa Capital, and she's here to talk about there's a new roadmap to look at Nigeria's investing in the Nigerian market. And got a few questions from Tony. I'm sure you can hear me, Tony. So what's the guide, and where is the guide to investing in Nigeria?
Okay, thank you so much, Bosin. So I have written a book which Emerging Africa Capital is launching today. It's titled Riding the Eagle, a guide to investing in Nigeria. And the stock exchange is partnering with Emerging Africa Capital to launch the book today in the presence of the DGSCC. The event is being chaired by Mrs. Folorunsola Akija. We've got the DGDMO with us here as well. And of course, Oscar Onyema, who is our host at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. So we are... The aim of this guide is to walk investors in Nigeria through the opportunities, the challenges, the necessary processes, and the key stakeholders that are involved in investing in Nigeria.
Okay, you spent some of your career time in Nigeria. You were, at least until the current engagement, the CEO of United Capital, an investment bank listed on the market. So what's your guide if I'm investing in Nigeria? Give me a guide.
Well, okay, so incidentally today also we're launching our maiden report by Emerging Africa, which is titled Cautious Optimism. So my guide is that you should be cautiously optimistic. My guide, for example, is that an investor should recognize the fact that our markets are depressed right now, and the stocks of blue chip companies can essentially be had for a song. You need to invest in what you understand. You need to invest in products that have appeal to a large market. I'm sure you know, of course, that Coca-Cola has deepened its stake in Chi recently, which is placing a high bet on the Nigerian consumer industry or consumer markets. You need to, of course, invest in products that are not only do they have appeals or have appeal generally to a large number of users, but products that are going to remain relevant irrespective of technology changes. So obviously food and beverage remain very attractive. Education remains a very attractive sector because of the rising population. The extractive industries are also what you want to look at. And of course, the power industry, there is still room, especially in renewables and other forms of clean energy. So those are some spaces that you want to look at in Nigeria.
Ms. Sonny, if you look at the fiscal and monetary space, do you think investors should also be guided by actions on the fiscal side and on the monetary side when investing in Nigeria? And how much of this does you weigh, or political resources weigh in your portfolio, or when you are marking what should be a guide for investors who wants to invest in Nigeria, or a domestic investor who wants to invest in here?
Well, obviously, the policy environment is very important for both domestic and international investors. On the fiscal and monetary policy side, I think there have been improvements that are indications that the market remains attractive. Incidentally, also joining us today at the book launch is Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, who has been in charge of coordinating the PEBEC initiatives to improve the ease of doing business in Nigeria. So the policy environment is improving. There are uncertainties around the forthcoming election. We are optimistic, cautiously optimistic, that Nigeria will get its act together and we will have a democratically elected government, which the people believe in, and then business can commence in earnest even from the second half of 2019.
Okay, so what's your reading for the market for this year? Give me your playbook for equities.
well, for equity, and I think I have indicated, I have indicated some sectors that I think will remain attractive, driven by our growing population, driven by the demands of consumers, and driven by, over time, the inching up middle class. So I would still put my bet on food and beverage. I would put my bet on the technology sector, on education. Financial technology is something that will remain increasingly relevant, and we can see some reforms that are being driven by the central bank with fintech, mobile money. So those are areas where we want to look at, and particularly at the Emerging Africa Capital Group, we're bullish on the renewable energy sector, on the alternative energy sector.
Okay. I've got to follow your guide, Tony Sonny. Thank you very much for coming through. We understand it's a very busy event, and those few minutes, we appreciate that coming down from the 28th floor to our studios down there on the trading floor of the exchange. Thank you very much, and all the best in being part of those guiding investors in the Nigerian market. Tony Sonny, the CEO at Emerging Africa Capital. And that's about all for today. Let's get back together tomorrow morning for another breakfast business program. We call it Business Morning. That's what you call it, don't you?